My name is Viktoras Kulvinskas, born in Lithuania. I live in Hot Springs, Arkansas. I have been in the alternative health field for over 30 years, and mostly live food orientation camp with wide range of therapeutic modalities. I've written quite a few books. I've been involved in product development, whole food concentrates, as well as running resorts. I think the word vitality is very well personifies, metaphorizes what it is all about, at least this event, and hopefully all the other events that will be coming out of the group will be of similar nature. It was vital, rich in experience, networking, budding friendships, getting past the egos. There's tremendous amount of diversity in what is referred to as live food, and as we stay isolated, we tend to think that ours is the way. Now, by coming together, we get a chance to really exchange notes, ideas, and kind of give a more harmonious front. What is the umbrella that holds us all together? Well, we basically endorse live, raw, enzymatic food, quite a diversity, but basically foods that perform, foods that have healing properties. It was very exciting also to see the energy of the playfulness, the creativity as we moved through music, as we exchanged information. I feel like it was extremely well worthwhile. The chefs were the best in terms of projecting an artistic creations that can add mileage into entry into the mainstream. It is the bait that seems to make all things work. Research and intellectual property and words are interesting, but give someone a delightful, beautiful meal, you got them hooked. It's much easier to do it through food than any other thing. Sex quite often works too, but I don't think you can go with that in mainstream. The Vitalities event is basically not only nurturing to the insiders, but has a major, can have, and it has shown up with a few people who are outside the raw foodist camp. They were totally satisfied with what was presented. Considering that we have an event here, the Vitalities event, which is of global and national importance, there is a need to basically next event to take steps to broadcast this event to a larger audience, catching the exciting sectors and using the web to move it globally, and doing it both by video, by real time, by photography, as well as text, as well as audio, so that we can have more people, you might say, participating at no cost and getting the benefits of this wonderful culinary healing transformation that is the next step in the revolution of healthcare, the next step of the culinary restaurant arts. It's the next step in relationships, because it transforms people. It creates youthfulness, and Vitalities can take this as a vehicle both for those who are insiders and take it to the outside camp. Get them to become just drawn by the fact that weight loss is easy, drawn by the fact that it leads to more youthful skin and body appearance. Attract them by the lowering of cholesterol. The list of reasons is endless. 90% of the people are sick with one form of acute or chronic condition. The more you consume living foods, the more it becomes appropriate as the ultimate healing tool, because it leads to personal responsibility and inner transformation and physical healing. With Anne Wigmore, we had a budding friendship at the Rising Sun Christianity, which eventually we co-founded the Hippocrates Health Institute. And as I was taking on more and more responsibilities due to shortage of staffing, among other things, I was involved in obtaining the supplies for the Hippocrates Health Institute by way of produce. I ordered sunflower seeds, and being a novice myself in the field, I just assumed that everybody, when they talk about sunflower seeds, they talk about Hult's sunflower seeds. Interestingly enough, they delivered to us a bag, a 50-pound bag of bird seeds, which after trying to open them individually, we decided that it was not worth the effort and we didn't have the machinery. So I composted at our small 5-acre farm and spread it out. And about 5 days later, I came back to do another compost load, and I was so amazed by this new weed that I noticed, and it was so prolifically spread out over the whole compost heap. And I'm saying to myself, well, it might be something new that I could bring to Dr. Anne. Everything I thought about, I would always say, well, this is a nice thing for Dr. Anne. This is something that we can do for Dr. Anne. She was like the queen there, and we loved her for it. And so I picked up a few of the weeds, and I noticed that, God, these sunflower shells were sticking to it. They looked like they kind of stuck, and I dusted them off, and I'm biting into it, and it tastes a little like sunflower itself. They were short shoots, only about 2 inches, because we didn't use the normal procedure that we do now, which is covering with trays or covering it with a plastic sheet, thus allowing them to grow in darkness. As a result, the shoots end up being 5 to 6 inches, up to 8 inches in height. Here they were with short shoots, but very beautifully developed a leaf structure, and it tasted phenomenal. And I says, this is the sunflower seeds that I discarded. And well, the rest is history. And then I started looking for other seeds that could end up working out similarly, and pretty much by chance buckwheat came into our existence, again due to just purely an error in ordering. We thought we could sprout this buckwheat and eat it as such, and when we tried, the roughage was way beyond our tolerance. So I says, why not try it on soil? Sure enough, all of a sudden we had the buckwheat lettuce. So all of a sudden our family of you might say indoor greens started growing to a larger sector. We started experimenting from there with also other vegetable seeds, and they especially lentil, mung bean, and we were able to get very nice sprouts, both growing on soil as well as appropriate conditions within canisters. I think what is important is to take it lightly. As the food is light, handle your life lightly. Whatever life meanings that you hold on to at that time, whether it's ongoing career or an art craft or agricultural work, whatever your lifestyle is, continue on in the same fashion and take this on as just a way of feeding yourself, and watch the wonderful transformation. I find a lot of people are looking for what's going to be happening next to me, what healings, am I going to cure this? Total obsession. I enjoyed the food, and was all that was really required. And over the years, without bothering to notice, I watched my body drop both to 90 pounds. I watched my body also to pop up to 140 pounds. I watched basically tumors disappear. I watched migraines disappear. So many different changes, especially advanced arthritis. But if I was just wondering, oh, it hasn't happened in 3 months, I really don't think it's working, I better switch to something else and go out looking. It's a lifestyle commitment. Basically, the idea of eating something live, something primitive, is just returning to the roots, to the place where we were historically evolutionary. You take away the 100,000 years of the fire fatism and the destruction of food, and go back to more paradisical eating. And for millions of years, all life forms lived on live foods. And then, of course, due to migration, earth changes, and weather conditions, it brought people into challenging environments where they started noticing that, there was both carnivorous activity and started noticing that fires started, left behind residues of both corpses of animals as well as also root vegetables. When pulled, they seem to have tasted relatively well, and started developing more an adaptation to the cold climate. But in the warm climate initially where we came from, it was strictly live food. So basically the individual, by just knowing that they're in the right place as far as the dietary choices, get on with your life. Basically be aware, which I wasn't, is the fact that it will lead to some radical alterations and detoxifications of more than just your physiology. It'll have an impact on your emotional, mental, and spiritual life. And you will see it as such. Old fears, angers, which were retained inside of your cellular environment as organic compounds that have the anger vibration, as someone has expressed, hope is a molecule. Well, so is anger, so is fear, so is lust. Everything that we experience as feelings, they have an organic molecular compounds, and they're not excreted fast enough during the time of the experience. So you could be holding on to, and they end up storing in your system. So the detoxification will be on many levels. You'll also surface some of your old memories. The best way to deal with these things is they too will pass. Nothing stays as long as you keep on taking the liquids, eating a light diet. It will flush it out of your system, and before you know it, nothing but pure joy, which is the natural state, just like the baby within a loving family that has come into the surface, into this world, will be totally bubbling with joy. You'll retrace yourself to that kind of an inner innocence and basically experience it as such. So it's a very transforming experience, and you align yourself with what is in Bhagavad Gita referred to as sattvic diet, which is basically live food, and it has with it certain mental and emotional and spiritual characteristics, which all of them lead to happiness, joy, fulfillment, and self-realization. We all have basically a mission, a dharma on this life path, and by going through purification, through meditation, we can get connected with who we really are and what is our special reason for being here, and allow yourself to manifest. Most people end up sedating themselves or accelerating their burning candles on both ends. With that perspective, you end up never being a realized person by living in the now and making a difference. Well, there's an interesting book that was written by Dr. Bernard called Prenatal Origin of Genius. And basically he talked about 4 characteristics for producing offsprings that are basically, you might say, superman or super ladies in nature. In other words, physiologically healthy, vital, and perfect. And you would see with that certain characteristics, more primitive type of nose with wide nostrils, which is indication of very strong heart and strong lungs. Earlobes would be almost to the shoulders. They're basically ½ an inch to an inch or longer, close to the head. These are indicative of very strong kidney and livers. Iris would be also similarly changed. The head structure would be more narrow toward the chin and quite wide toward the crown area, where it seems like it's either oval or just the opposite in the current culture. Basically, it has to do with degeneration. Eugenics are possible, namely by the mother and father consuming optimal nutrition and going through cleansing and detoxification, eventually coming into a relationship and producing the joy of their love, a partner who is coming out of their 2 unique genetic pools. It will be a child that will be both totally photographic memory. It will have clear-mindedness. If they are feeding the child appropriately, the child will have perfect alignment within the social, the intuitive at-one-ment within the social culture. You won't have fragmentation and asocial behavior. This is very clearly has been shown by many different studies of primitive culture, that once you introduce fragmented foods, police force, jails, judges and administrators of laws become necessary. Prior to that, there's that intuitive at-one-ment that is experiencing each individual as part of a larger whole, and you can't go around doing destructive action. Just like you don't want to do destructive action, the hand will not go around doing damages to the skin or to the toenails. Basically, there's a single unit, and that we are all one connected through love. And live food increases your electromagnetic field vibration. As a result, you become more connected with everyone, and especially your own family and the extension of the family, which includes everyone else. So basically, it is moving toward health, vitality, at-one-ment, creativity, joy, and extremely strong physiological bodies, as well as mental faculties that are beyond any current belief of ability and performance, because we start basically having brain trust. At-one-ment, when many brains fuse together through intuitive, as a result, there's that, instead of having the web, you have the electromagnetic fields of common thoughts and commonality bouncing off and co-creating new models of new paradigm shifts, and that are totally appropriate and harmonious with the rest of the life forms and the rest of the earthly environment, as well as cosmic universe. Mano kraštas yra Lietuva. Lietuvoj dabar turime daug gydymo vietovių, kur žmonės naudoja dėl gydymo ir dėl gyvenimo maistą, kur yra padarytas iš be jokios ugnies, be jokių chemikalų, ir valgomas paprastai ir stipriai. Padarom žmonės sveikus ir džiaugsmus, pilnus meilės ir ilgo gyvenimo. Tai gyvena Lietuva! Live food is basically an adventure of expansion of creativity, just as the culture has touched because of seductiveness by many of the different drugs, which are alkaloids. Likewise, the best way to increase the alkalinity instead of alkaloids like cocaine, marijuana, and caffeine and nicotine and all these, which have a damaging effect, is instead go for the alkaloids, which neutralize the acidic condition and temporarily bring a blast of energetics, clear-mindedness, and focus and hyperactivity. Instead, go for the slow but sure alkalizing through the vegetarian live food diet that continuously brings more and more electrovoltage increase within your cellular environment, thus opening up your chakras, allowing you to tap into cosmic intelligence, allowing you to become at one, to experience more power in each one of your chakras. So you have better digestion, you make love more passionately, you think more creatively, you are at one more with larger groups of numbers. We all can dabble with this. You can always go back to your death and dying foods, but give it a chance, experiment, play with it. Give yourself 3-4 months just eating more and more fresh foods until you're eating all fresh foods, and try that for a period of 3 months. And if you don't buy into this, then of course you can always go back to your more sluggish ways and see if you are not at all pleased with the past experience. A vacation adventure, that's what you ought to call it. The live food vacation that you can do at home. It's cheap, and it also leads to tremendous amount of cosmic alterations that are purely entertaining, to say the least. It's fun to be old in a young body. What more could I say? I think the word vitality is very well personifies, metaphorizes what it is all about, at least this event, and hopefully all the other events that will be coming out of the group will be of similar nature. It was vital, rich in experience, networking, budding friendships, getting past the egos. There's tremendous amount of diversity in what is referred to as live food. And as we stay isolated, we tend to My name is Viktoras Kulvinskas, born in Lithuania. I live in Hot Springs, Arkansas. I have been in the alternative health field for over 30 years, and mostly live food orientation camp with wide range of therapeutic modalities. I've written quite a few books. I've been involved in product development, whole food concentrates, as well as running resorts. Extremely well worthwhile. The chefs were the best in terms of projecting an artistic creations that can add mileage into entry into the mainstream. It is the bait that seems to make all things work. Research and intellectual property and words are interesting, but give someone a delightful, beautiful meal, you got them hooked. It's much easier to do it through food than any other thing. Sex, quite often, think that ours is the way. Now, by coming together, we get a chance to really exchange notes, ideas, and kind of give a more harmonious front. What is the umbrella that holds us all together? Well, we basically endorse live, raw, enzymatic food, quite a diversity, but basically foods that perform, foods that have healing properties. It was very exciting also to see the energy of the playfulness, the creativity as we moved through music, as we exchanged information. I feel like it was extreme works too, but I don't think you can go with that in mainstream. The Vitalities event is basically not only nurturing to the insiders, but has a major, can have, and it has shown up with a few people who are outside the raw foodist camp. They were totally satisfied with what was presented. Considering that we have an event here, the Vitalities event, which is of global and national importance, there is a need to basically next event to take steps to broaden